Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John. And Jeff is back, baby!
Jeff's
and
back.
we are all back in
Yeah.
the love of cinema.
We love the
pod
cinema.
in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive, critical eye. Oh, I'm so excited.
We're back.
Jeff, just this is for leaving.
Yeah, he fucked it up. First time back. Oh, that's so great. He forgot the intro.
I
In case you
forgot
hadn't
the intro.
guessed.
Well, yeah, because me being back was part of the intro, you ass. Okay, so we're a
So
positive
true.
film podcast. We only stick to positive criticism about a film if we have to. If we just have to say anything negative, or if something comes across as really stupid about any film, we're going to play a sound, which is this. And that means that we have to take a drink because we turn this into a drinking game. Positivity drinking game. I hope you pour a beer and join us at home.
So pour yourselves a glass and do a fuck ton of hallucinogenics, because we're going to talk about Annette.
Is that where you went with this film? You were like, what hallucinogenics were they on? Oh my gosh, we're going to be talking about Annette, people. Annette, it's that movie that you saw when you were on Amazon Prime that was like an Adam Driver movie called Annette with Marion Cotillard. What the fuck is this? And I saw the movie and I'm with you. So let's do it, people. Annette, available right
He's off to
now.
a good start.
As long as you pay your Amazon Prime subscription fee, you can watch Annette for free-ish right now. Before we discuss this film, John, is there anybody that we should shout out today?
I think we're going to shout out the usual suspects. His name is Carlos Barroso. His job, our beer sponsor. His handle on Instagram, C Barroso Bar 2019. That is CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging the music on this episode and every single episode, you know where to find it. It's soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. All the music is provided by the artist Dasein. Please go get that music for free. Download it, listen, love it. Follow us on all the handles, all the platforms, at the Love of Cinema pod, except we're just at the Love of Cinema on Twitter. Hit us up. We'll get back to you. Give us some suggestions for movies to talk about. Should have seen it by now. Was it really that bad? Anything else, basically. We want to hear what you have to think. Guys, what the
we've made
fuck
it
are we
really
doing
easy
this
too now,
episode?
because if you go to the link tree, there's a button there where you can suggest a film.
Linktree.
Yes, check
Link
it
tree.
out
We have
in
a
the
link
show
tree.
notes.
We got
link
that.
tree.
I was
So simple. Go to our show notes. You can find all this information in every single episode. Please hit us up. Follow these things. Dave works so hard. It's so fluid and easy to get in touch with us to see our information. We're very proud of his work. We're so excited.
There's also
I
a
may
random
already
episode of
be
the week
drunk.
on there now.
Oh, fun. Guys, this is, you know what? The kid is back. The kid is back. Jeffrey, how were your 3 weeks away? I think for the fans, was it amazing? Were you sick of us? Were you happy not to listen to us? I know you
3
didn't listen to
weeks.
the episodes. So
I did listen to the
how was it?
episodes. I did listen, and
did.
and since you all, especially Dave, made frequent appearances on the Matt and Mark movie show, and you had some guests, including Mark Monstrosky on this podcast, and then Dave was on there. So I listened to a lot of movie podcasts while I was driving all over the place and not looking at our Facebook feed to see in the posters what movies we're doing this week. But I did see Annette in there. Happy to be back, people. I deny all of the charges, but I'm back. I'm here, and I watched Annette. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Everybody's-
I mean, I feel like I should just correct myself, because I made a joke about taking a bunch of fucking hallucinogenics, and if you do a whole bunch of drugs before you see this, you may need a psychiatrist after. So don't try that at home, kids.
I would also
It's
recommend.
like, no, it would mess you up if you're on drugs.
I would also recommend not doing hallucinogenics and then watching this movie. Can I get into the pitch? Is there anything else?
Proceed.
Any other preamble you want to get into? Okay, go up. Jesus, John. Fuck it. I have a buzzer, but it's just sad. Okay, here we go, people. Let's go. Annette. I said it. Adam Driver, Marion Cotillard, Simon.
Wait, what's the name of this movie?
Adam Driver, Marion Cotillard, and Simon Helberg star in this movie by French director Leos Carax. Did I say that even close to right?
You're not sure.
Yeah,
I don't mean to say it flippantly. I genuinely don't know. Leos Carax. It was written by the Mayle brothers, who you may know from Sparks.
Yes.
And their songs, which include Yodel for a Hanging, Angst in My Pants, and Now That I Own the BBC. Although, if you were alive in the 70s, which one of you could tell me how that was? This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us was apparently a huge hit. They also wrote some songs for...
Yeah, I
saw John reach for it. I'm like, I'll let that happen.
I should be clear here. These are the writers of the film who write music as well. They are a duo that wishes they were Wham, but they came first. And they wrote a song called Armies of... They wrote a song called Armies of the Dead for Fright Night. And apparently they wrote another song for Leos Carax in a film.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because this is the fucking Sparks Brothers. Like, they're one of the most influential bands that nobody's ever heard of. Edgar Wright has a 2-hour and 20-minute documentary on these guys.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I saw them at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, where do I know those guys from? Because they appear in the first number. And, because, by the way, did we mention this is a musical?
But I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
No.
But I saw them in the first number, and I was
guess.
like, what? Where do I know those guys from? And I looked it up, I'm like, it's the fucking Sparks Brothers. And this movie immediately went up like 2 points in my book.
It did.
Yes.
What do you know the Sparks? Can I sing on that, or is that all you wanted to say about the Sparks? Is there, what is
well,
your...
I know them because of the Edgar Wright documentary. I've been following like
Yeah,
the
you
whole
can't just
thing
say,
with that
"Oh yeah,
coming
the
out.
Sparks Brothers." There's
No,
a
they
in the future about them that I don't know anything about.
I mean,
the subject
anyone
matter.
that's even close to my age listening to this will know or have heard at least one of the Sparks Brothers things. They're a massive influence.
The Mayle brothers. Apparently, they have a big stage persona and like watching too. I don't know. I looked it up. Okay, so they wrote a whole lot of songs about this. This is borderline operetta shit. This movie is. Annette. So much music. The Leos Carax is a French director who apparently doesn't like child actors. And the movie is about...
We'll get to the movie in a minute.
I guess that's an inside joke,
my
if you know.
God.
So it's about the short...
We do talk about movies eventually on this podcast.
The short description is a stand-up comedian, Adam Driver, and his opera singer wife, Marion Cotillard, have a 2-year-old daughter with a surprising gift. The longer description is Los Angeles nowadays. This is on IMDb. Henry is a stand-up comedian with a fierce humor. By that, it's basically performance art on stage. And Marion Cotillard, an internationally renowned opera singer. Together, under the spotlight, they form a happy and glamorous couple. The birth of their first child, Annette, a mysterious girl with an exceptional destiny, will turn their lives upside down. That's where I'm going to leave it. This is Annette on Amazon Prime. Who wants to go first with their initial thoughts or takeaways of seeing this film? I think yesterday. We all saw this yesterday. So we're a day away.
That's true. I watched this last night after packing boxes because I'm moving in at the moment in New York.
And
I'm not going first. Someone else go first.
John?
Well, let's give it a little more context because you know what? After seeing this, I also finished it last night. I wish I would have watched it earlier in the week. I'm very busy, but I wish I would have watched it earlier in the week because I think I would have wanted to watch a couple more of this guy's films to like get an idea. Because you look through his resume, he is no stranger to a lot of the major festivals around the world. They seem to love him at Cannes. He's had several films.
This is definitely him in fine form. Like this is what he makes.
This guy, Holy Motors, I've definitely heard of his 2012 film. Tokyo, Boy Meets Girl, apparently was a really magnificent feature debut. And I have some cinephile friends who have been into this guy for a long time. So I even just from word of mouth for that kind of context, I had a feeling this was going to feel like a perhaps surreal, but definitely like altar-driven style. I knew it was a musical, so I thought it was going to be like, all right, there's no way this guy is going to do something straightforward. And
you were
and
not
you know
wrong.
What? We were right.
Yeah.
I mean, this was. I'm going to go to bat for this and say that it was. I think there are two ways to watch this film, and I think you can still enjoy it either way. You can either one, it can actually really speak to you, and you can enjoy this kind of strange take on how to do one just musical theater on film. The story could speak to you. You could, you know what I mean? Aesthetically, you could actually have an emotional reaction. I did really like this. I think it's also kind of impossible not to appreciate, even just intellectually, what he achieved what they achieved. I think this was the most original musical I've seen since Moulin Rouge. I think that Chicago and some of the other ones that we've spoken about are, really, really excellent. There have been maybe one or two or three really excellent movie musicals in the past 20 or 30 years. But in terms of like crazy innovation, I remember I was just so blown away by Moulin Rouge when I was younger. I hadn't really seen anybody do anything like that. Since maybe like 30 or 40 years before that, when they were still making a lot of musicals, there were a few chances taken. This was probably the most innovative one I've seen in 20 plus years.
This is the anti Moulin Rouge. Like Moulin Rouge was spectacle and bright. This is dark as fuck.
Yeah, and classically, and I don't want to put him in a box. I don't want to put them in a box, but I think everyone will know what I mean when I say positively, very French auteur style. So like a lot of sustained camera, a lot of long takes, a lot of very, very whittled down. How do we get people just simply telling a story through song, and how do we do that cinematically? How do we have them repeat the same lines
I'm gonna come back to that in a minute.
and over again?
What was Tom Hooper going for in Les Mis?
I mean, you know what? Hey, you guys, let's just say, I don't know if you still have some of the songs stuck in your head, which, that's not a way to measure a musical, but I think that there are, you need some of your familiar themes to kind of get people gripped. But it's the way that he filmed this that I thought was so interesting. And I hope we'll talk a little bit more in detail, but that's my initial take. I appreciated it intellectually and like form, in terms of form and the way they actually made it. And it actually did speak to me. I thought it was very original, and it was very refreshing to see a musical.
Gush alarm! The gush alarm, people. So unexpected in an initial takeaway.
Especially considering some of the comments that have been made about this film so far online. Like, they have not been kind at all. Jeff, what do you think?
Oh, me? God damn it. We are a positive film podcast, people, and I think the joy of this podcast is making
Dave and I have our fingers on the buzzer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think the joy of this podcast is actually genuinely trying to redeem a movie and prop up movies, because we love movies. We don't want to just get on here and shit on movies and give examples of movies that we liked better or anything like that. So with
I'm gonna buzz you for not getting to the fucking point in a minute.
Honestly, that's my point. I'm gonna work really hard on this one. I'm gonna work. That is my goal. I'm not gonna get dragged down by how I actually felt about this movie.
Close enough.
Welcome back, motherfucker.
Now, to be fair, I agree with everything John just said, and to that, not only just the production design, the way it was filmed, the tone. We always talk about tone. Everything about the way it was filmed was magical. I will one up it and say the acting performances. Thank God, especially considering Marion Cotillard was not the first choice.
No,
why would you want Academy Award winner Marion Cotillard in your movie? I don't know. So she was at least the third, apparently maybe even the fourth.
Fourth actually, because Kristen Stewart also turned it down, and that's not a joke.
That's not a joke.
To her credit, she turned it down because she couldn't sing.
There's also Michelle Williams and Rooney Mara who were attached to the film at certain points, and apparently the film delayed. So there's masterful stuff going on here. There's really, really good work. There's good introspective, good film acting work where you don't really know what's going on behind the eyes, but you know it's meaningful. And that's what I want to say about it. That's my initial takeaway. Dave, what did you think?
So safe. Well
that was
done.
very,
well
very
done,
safe. I think I saw the play of this above the Producers Club in New York City one year. It was.
Oh boy! Wow! Yeah, I'm giving you that drink, you motherfucker.
I'm sorry, I had to make that joke.
Yeah, but
no, okay.
Why?
Look,
why did you make that joke?
No, because it did. I had a very different reaction to this, even though it was almost of a similar style. It was very long, and so was the play that I saw, and I kind of put the two together, but for some reason I had a very different visceral response to this film. And John pointed out earlier, like, there's two ways to enjoy this film. One is if it just speaks to you, and for some reason this did. Nice. And it got me from the get-go when they're like, "May we begin?" And there's this whole cool number, and like, granted, the opening, like, not just the opening number, but like dialogue, like the musical dialogue all the way through this repeats like a Wiggles album. but it's part of the style, and it's built into it. I did love they did the entire, like, including a costume change and a pause for a lighting change in one giant fucking take in the opening number, from a studio down a street to getting on a bike and riding off. Like, it's a giant oneer. It's great. Again, like I said, Sparks Brothers,
very not flashy one.
It was like I didn't notice simple, until I was like, they haven't cut yet. Like, I've noticed this about 90 seconds, 2 minutes in. I feel like this is definitely a film for filmmakers who will appreciate the way it's made. But again, the performances, some of the really fucking bold stylistic choices, and I'd heard what this was, and I'd seen some of the comments. One of the most famous comments on IMDb is someone who was basically saying, it's really funny watching this score, like the IMDb score, drop as mainstream cinema people find this movie. Yeah. And it's like, this is not a mainstream movie. This is going to be divisive. You're either going to love it or hate it, or like blatantly not understand it. But
absolutely,
I can't say I understood everything that was going on, but for some reason this really spoke to me.
Nice. Me too, dude. I would say the exact same thing. I didn't get it necessarily.
We're in the bizarro world. I'm agreeing with John, but it's like, this was so well made. The only thing, I will fault is, and it's a personal choice, because I have a real aesthetic problem with 50% composites, and they overutilized them at the beginning, and then just didn't do it for ages, and then they slipped one in about maybe 3/4.
Explain.
Basically, where you
explain what that means for the listeners.
Okay, so you overlay two pieces of footage, but you overlay them, like the second one at like 50%, or you overlay both of them at 50%, so that they blend into each other. And this was shot on digital, so it doesn't work as well in that medium, I feel. And the only one that I liked was when he was in the bed and she was laying with him, which happens later in the film, and it's a 50% composite there, and that's the only one that I really felt benefited the film. But that's being really picky. Like, that's me being really picky. Everything else in this, and we'll get into like more of it a little bit later, like some serious fucking spoilers about like where this goes. But everything else about it was so stylistic, and I had to liken it to like my favorite film in the world, Scott Pilgrim, where he was just like, I'm going to make this film, and fuck you if you don't get it.
Completely agree, man. And I couldn't agree more.
I respect that, and I will sit, and I was compelled to sit there and like find out what happens in this story. I was like, granted, this is like occasionally with the repetitive lyrics, I drifted a little way, but I always wanted to know what happened next.
And I feel like I'll even say, and this isn't a negative thing, but sometimes the writing, the actual story was not surprising to me. I wasn't bored, or I didn't think it was like super cliche or predictable. It's not negative, but it was the telling. Yeah. It was so stylized that things that we have seen before, the motifs of that you see in these classic kind of love tragedies and music theater especially. But it was the way he told it. It was so original. I know that's cliche.
No,
but
it is. So this is something you have not seen before. You couldn't help but
watch it.
If you want to see something,
literally. I mean,
like they say, there's no original stories anymore, but there's certainly original ways to tell them. And
that's all we've got,
and
right?
He came up with a really, really fucking original way to tell us. And like, this was originally an album. Like, they conceived this as an album, and then they kind of turned it into a musical, and it didn't get off the ground. And then they came across him at Cannes one year, and they were like, let's do this, and that's how it was conceived. I got to hang out at more film festivals, man. If this is what's on the cards,
honestly, dude, let's go to fucking Cannes.
Yeah,
I think that because I'm gonna pimp our co-host Jeff into telling us what he didn't agree with on that. But I do want to say that I feel like
Jeff's freaking out because I agreed with you.
the overwhelming thing that I couldn't stop looking at is not it's as well as the style and the things Dave and I were just saying. Something that I think is often missing in very stylized music theater, even on the stage, but definitely in films, is like a shameless sincerity. You either have the wonderful like ones that have a good wink, like a Singing in the Rain, which we have praised for a very specific kind of self-aware comedy. This also had a kind of a wry, more drier self-awareness, but it had this more important ingredient that I'm talking about for dramatic music theater, where like they know that they're singing songs and they're repeating lyrics and they're creating kind of like this mantra style, but it's the acting, the performances, and the way they shot it had such a seriousness and a sincerity about it that you kind of, when they were kind of poking fun at those motifs, you kind of couldn't help but realize that that was art poking fun, like an artist poking fun at it, not trying to make the audience be like, you're in on this too, right? It was almost like they knew you had never seen anything like this before. And I couldn't stop. I couldn't look away from it.
This was a really, really good surprise.
Jeff, what do you think?
Jeff, you've been very quiet.
I mean, I'm not trying to tell you to say anything like negative, but Jeff and I, just to remind people, like we all three come from, like, we have plenty of experience with music theater. Jeff still is involved with it, teaches it. No, I'm just curious, dude. Like, we can all talk. We all have plenty of opinions about this particular form. On stage and in film. The two of us really, really enjoyed this. I'm just curious why it didn't. What didn't land for you?
That's a good question. That's a really good question that I was really hoping
how do
would
I answer that without getting buzzed?
I also saw The Karate Kid this week, and I was just like focusing so much of my thoughts on that.
Sure. Annette is the Karate Kid of the musical genre.
I loved the opening too. Actually, it was really fascinating. They start in this weird record studio, and I had no idea what this movie was about outside of that. And by the way, the kid, it keeps saying it's about this couple, the opera singer and the comedian, this famous couple have a kid, and their 2-year-old daughter has a surprising gift. So I'm almost thinking like it's going to be supernatural or something, and it's like
and they almost lead you down that path as well too. With the
kid's not even bored for an hour, so I hate when movies do that to me. And I'm like, the movie is about. Forget the first hour. This is what it's about. We don't know what else to say about it, and that's fine.
Act 1 was really long.
Fuck, man. Edward Albee used to say any play that could be summed up in one sentence should be one sentence long. So I'm not opposed to movies that are like this, where I'm just waiting for the movie to start. I'm okay with a lot of setup and a lot of preamble. I think there was the one thing that the music theater does that it fails at time and time again is going back and forth between realism and music. The music is never set in realism ever. We never sing in real life, and if we do, it's a song. It's not our thoughts. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. Don't sit there at home and be like, I sing all the time. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't.
Totally
if you're breaking up with your significant other, you would not sing it to them. You would just fucking say it straight. I hope. I really, really hope. And this movie, I think one of the reasons.
I want to see that scene played out. Let's make a YouTube sketch about that. Honestly,
it's every musical, and it's not as funny as you wish it was. That's what happens. With this, I actually, you guys are convincing me of all of its merits. I will say it was a very difficult watch because there's so many songs. Every time there's just singing. There's one song that I wrote down, which is after his stand-up. Which, by the way, to finish my last thought about the realism, Adam Driver does these stand-up sketches, but it's not Mrs. Maisel. It's not any other stand-up special you've seen or any TV show about a comedian.
I've seen stand-up like this.
Well, it's like calling it Andy Kaufman would seem like you didn't know anything about what you're talking about, but it's performance art on stage. He's almost making fun of what you expect about comedians. And in his presentation of it, even though the camera, as John alluded to and Dave said about like the one-ers and the long held shots so that you can't hide, and it's not clever, like snappy, like music video editing where they do an edit every second. Dave has filmed a lot of those, I'm sure. But it seems like it's just like a real set, but it's not. It's actually faster paced than it would be in real life. And it's so absurd that it can't be embedded anywhere in realism. So the music actually does lend itself to this. I think the holdup for me was just, for instance, this song about him leaving his comedy special and going to visit his wife. And all of the camera people do this. It wasn't even choreographed. Did this like, Henry, how about a smile? You never smile. You don't smile, Henry. Let's see a smile. And it was really torturous for me. And I don't know why. Like, I understand that this is a musical and music can be done a million different ways. But to me, this sort of, it almost seemed like they were trying to do one of those SNL bad high school theater sketches. I don't know if you've seen them. I know... I don't mean bad theater meaning like it's bad.
No,
but
I know the one you're talking.
It's a style, and there's Emma Stone does one, Elizabeth Banks does another one, and there's one where they're all wearing black and they're in a black box. If you can picture your local black box with like a black cube on stage and everybody's wearing blacks. South
Park does a really good one as well.
There's
Happy,
one where they just
happy, everybody's happy.
they do this scene where they're like, how about a selfie? How about a selfie? And they're like, look, a celebrity. How about a selfie? How about a selfie? Oh, look, a scientist. We don't care. And that's the sketch. And it's supposed to be like a bad theater trying to accomplish all of the world's problems. And to me, this like, hey, Henry, how about a smile with all the camera people? It felt like it was trying to do that too, but it did not land in satire. It didn't land in comedy. It didn't land in anything deep for me. So it was just them barking at me about this stuff. And it just didn't click. And I would love for it to have clicked, like both of you were positive. I'm propping this up because it might have clicked, but there's going to be a lot of people who watch this movie who are going to be like, this is torturous. I want to turn.
Oh
this
yeah,
off.
no, absolutely. Like, yeah, one of our recent guests from the Matt and Mark movie show apparently lasted 30 minutes.
I'm actually really
So-
the reason I like that because I thought they would be complaining too much, but I like it because they get right to the point. They're not like me who waits until half an hour through the episode is slowly they're like, fuck this movie. Because the truth is I if I didn't have a podcast, I wouldn't have finished this movie. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't done really well by amazing people. But the story doesn't matter. It's a very simple story. And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes of these songs. And the one that stuck out to me is just because Chloe walked in during the birthing scene where they're like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. And we couldn't decide if it was stupid or brilliance, which I guess is what they were going for. But I don't even remember the scene anymore. I just remember Chloe making fun of the song. And that's my memory of this movie. So there was nothing about it that was like, God, I can't wait to see what's next. And this is the birth of Annette. It's the scene, it's the birth of the kid. It wasn't even like, I can't wait to see the kid. I was like, fuck this song. I got to get out of this movie. Okay, that's my.
Okay, so let's bring it in for like I guess the biggest spoiler of the film. So we're gonna throw down a massive spoiler alert right now.
Now you know what everybody feels about this movie. Go watch
yeah.
it on Amazon Prime. It's only 2 hours and 21 minutes of your life. And then come back.
Yeah, I had to. I'm sorry. Okay, so Annette, as appearing 1 hour into the film, give or take, is a puppet.
Yeah.
The entire way through the film, except for maybe 5 minutes. And at first I was like, when they first did the birthday scene, I'm like, there's something wrong with that baby.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's weird. And then I was like, that baby has like wooden knee joints. What the fuck? And like that kind of threw me for a bit. I wish I'd gone in knowing that happened.
Oh, really? I liked being so weirded out by it.
I don't know.
I actually kind of liked being weirded out. Thank God the baby was a puppet. If it was just a normal kid that they were torturing, I would have been like, get out of that set. Parents, take this kid home.
I wasted so much time being distracted by that, I think, that I might have missed some stuff that was going on. But like then once I finally realized that, it's like, okay, they're doing this with a puppet, I was on board. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. Like, I've seen this technology before because that was entirely practical. Except for obviously for the flying, which was CG. But like I've seen this technology before. David Straussman, I believe, pioneered it. He's a famous ventriloquist who has two puppets that he uses the most in his show, and one is Chuck, who is absolutely raw and like it's not for kids, and the other one is Teddy Bear, and one tortures the other. But like Chuck at one point sells David Straussman's soul to the devil during the show, and at the end of that show he stands up and walks, and there's no one controlling him. He stands up on stage and walks, and it's
what the
fuck? And it was amazing for the time. And then but what they've done now with like this thing, because like apparently there were like various controllers the whole way through it. Like sometimes it was a tech controlling it, sometimes it was Adam Driver controlling it.
Yeah.
So he's pulling that performance and driving a fucking puppet at the same time. Like this was like that's what I talk about when I say it's a bold choice, because once I realized what they were doing, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes.
I think if you're them, you're so proud. And no matter which side they landed out, I bet you they enjoyed it because they know probably what's behind all these words. But the performances they're really amazing. I really don't know what Marion Cotillard was singing about with all that opera stuff. And I have no idea what was going on with those songs. she's not even in an opera. Are they concerts? What is she talking about? I really don't know anything about what's going on.
No, she had to have been in an opera. There were theater legs.
Yeah, but then what's up with this guy being like, I'm her accompanist? And I was like, what? Operas usually have really like 35-piece orchestras.
Well, the orchestra was there.
Like
no, he's just the guy who helps her rehearse.
But he started this song about how he's the accompanist like during one of her shows. It doesn't matter.
That all right. Granted, that was a little confusing.
That was his intro to the movie. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Like I'm just saying, like it would be like her. What she was internalizing upstage in this opera performance, it was very abstract. It was not realism in any way, shape, or form. So it doesn't matter what it was about. All I'm saying to you is, even though I felt like I had gotten my fill earlier than both of you, she was brilliant. She was brilliant. I don't know if she was singing. They kept saying everybody was singing. If that was really her, I'm really fucking impressed.
Yes, it was.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Pretty much
really
everyone did their own singing, including Adam Driver.
It's brilliant, and what she was working on was
which
really
makes me
great.
think, like, seriously, we could have had Kylo singing to Baby Yoda in a jail cell. This is how Rise of Skywalker should have ended.
I disagree. I disagree. And she was a better singer than him, although he's a fine voice. He's a fine voice, but he's probably better for Brecht than this, which is pretty close, I guess.
He did a good job. Like he was.
It just didn't matter. I think they did a good job establishing that.
Yeah, no,
he doesn't have to.
People shout out La La Land for it, but for this,
no, but also
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but in this case, it was almost appropriate because his talent was dwarfed by her, literally in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
True,
and that's one of the issues he had.
Yeah, I just couldn't stop being impressed with the way. The thing that always frustrates, as Jeff was saying, like the realism fact, it's not realistic, and it's always so frustrating when movie musicals don't capture that in some very specific stylistic way. And I think the best ones usually do that. So the fact that this one was going with a very absurd take, it kept being pleasant. It was just so pleasant to me that I never felt like they were slipping into that place where like anything was supposed to be normal or linear or realistic. I'm just, I'm not the best contemporary music theater fan. I think all of it is very poppy now. I think a lot of it is trying to be somewhere between Frozen and Sondheim, and it just doesn't always work for me anymore. It's consistently frustrating. So it was just so
I'll let
so
the
nice
audience
to not even see somebody trying to do one of those things or both of those things. They were just like, no, we're not going to do that at all, and you're not going to understand. And you're either the kind of person who likes that. Like, maybe we should clarify this even more. Simply put, I don't think people who love musicals will inherently love this, and I don't think people who love, I don't know, like
NCIS, The Bachelor in Paradise, any
style,
television show.
Yeah, you have to be into like challenging storytelling, challenging theater, or challenging cinema. Like this is not avant-garde, but it is closer to that than than like a typical linear style story. The puppet baby is just like the essential aspect of it for me. Like I don't know who's shitting on that. I think that is so interesting. I don't
know if a lot of people that are shitting on this movie even got that far, to be honest.
And that could be true.
Yeah, and also given everything John just said, I'll let the audience decide which one of us is almost 50, because John just did the musical equivalent of "Get Off My Lawn." So,
you know what though? I don't even fucking care. Like, I mean, everything. I don't know.
Delayed buzz. I had a phrase. Okay, you can drink again. What, John?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people who don't like this, I'm not even going to look online to listen to the fucking modern contemporary music thespians talking about how these people can't sing very well, and that's how they fucking judge everything about
read about the modern
quality
musical
of
thespians.
voices.
They have enough going on right now.
It's like the shit that people talked about fucking La La Land. Like they couldn't even get past the fact that there was a director trying to do something that isn't normally what is acceptable in contemporary music theater.
I mean, that was a director wanking off to Hollywood, to be honest.
Jesus.
We're not. This podcast isn't about La La Land, but I think he was at least trying to do something fresh. But this is way more challenging than La La Land. Let's not compare these two.
Way better than
more
La La Land.
challenging.
This is
thought it
emotional.
was more interesting.
Everything he did was rooted in emotion, and I think that reads. I think that checks out. I think it's pretty cool. It's a good go.
It did. Although I will say, I think my favorite parts of this movie were not rooted in like a relatable emotional thing, like the normal things that you could kind of see. Okay, that's what's happening in this story. Spoiler alerts. This is when somebody dies. This is when a baby is born. Like the typical things that you could actually relate to. It's the way he showed, the way the first time the baby like starts to, spoiler alert, have a talented expression. I won't say exactly what happens. It's the way the baby, when she's performing, the way they do the montage, the way he filmed their love montage, like falling in love. It was just such an interesting telling.
He's not wrong with any
know.
of that, but I will say, and we're going to have to wrap this up in a second, but I will say it is worth getting to the end of this movie, and this is the massive spoiler, for the duet with Adam Driver and the human Annette when she becomes real to him. Because I mean, I've had this discussion with my wife about this because she got wrapped up in this as well. She sat down and watched at least 2/3 of it, and it was like she came up with the opinion that he sees her as an object to be used because that's how he sees everything, and that's why she's a puppet. But the second she distances herself from that and becomes a person, and like where she's saying, "No, you can't love me," and that then she becomes human. And that fucking duet, that kid is amazing.
It was great, yeah.
Like
Awesome.
Devin McDowell, she's done like one other thing. This was like her second, maybe a second film, and like it was a spectacular performance from a kid that age. It's worth sitting through for that scene because that scene is so fucking powerful.
It was a great scene.
Yeah,
and I did catch that with the child became real to Adam Driver. That was really that was cool.
They're also both performers. I think there's tons of thematic commentary on performing and his judgment for Anne Marion Cotillard for the bows and like the way he saw the way she performed.
She dies every night,
false than hers, and
which is
there's
funny.
A lot of wonderful commentary
like,
that we haven't talked about at all.
From a comedian standpoint, dying is when you fail.
Yeah,
so,
and the foreshadowing, yada yada. I do want to say what Jeff was saying earlier about it did or didn't work when there was like I hope that they were trying to write some of the.
I just realized dying is when you fail. Killing is when you succeed.
Yeah, and he says that the first time I killed them, and she says I saved them. I loved those lines. But the motifs, the recitative stuff, I think it was supposed to be like, isn't music theater bad when it's like this? I did get that feeling. When it's like, isn't this a joke? Because they also could write some. I love that.
The audience is
we love
singing
each other so much.
This flipped genres like 3 times during the movie. Like it was at one point it was scary. At one point it was dramatic. At one point it suddenly. Adam Driver's dropping comedy lines during his song, and I laughed out loud. And so, like, it just keeps reinventing itself as you're watching it. Like,
all the way up to the last moment. What do you guys think of the ending? We just praised the last scene as a whole, but did you think the ending landed like his last line, just the way that scene wraps up, and then it's just over. It just leaves you. It's a quick.
Did you watch through the credits?
He exits and turns his back. I did.
This movie's a lot about celebrity and fame and the skeletons in your closet performance. So the fact that the comedian who's a star essentially has his life story literally end like that after a scandal leads to a crime essentially and leads to a falling out. Allegorically, it checks out perfectly. The movie was done with mastery for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this was the thing. I did not see this coming, and I honestly, judge for yourself. Totally judge for yourself. Give this thing a watch and see. Like, if it's not for you, by all means, move on. But I imagine a lot of people who share a similar take on theater and film that I do will find something magical in this. Because I couldn't wait to see what was coming.
All right. Well, people, Annette is the name of the movie. If you guys haven't been listening again, that is Annette, which is on Amazon Prime. If you're paying your subscription fee. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to go ahead and do a quick round of what you've been watching before we let you know what's going to be on our next week's episode. So, Dave, you want to give everybody a recommendation of what you've been watching?
I've actually, since it dropped on Netflix and it had a lot of publicity recently, I've been watching Manifest. the TV show where some people get on a plane and the plane disappears and then reappears 5 years later and they land as if nothing's happened. For them, no time has passed. And it's a little bit lost-ish, I guess, a little bit flash forward-ish, that sort of thing.
Sounds like
but it's really, really
Lost
written
meets the
well.
leftovers.
No, these guys, like the writers of this, write it quite realistically in reactions, and it's like appropriate reactions as such for certain situations. Famously, it did get cancelled after season 3 and has just been picked up by Netflix for a final season 4, so they are going to wrap it up. And ironically, or quite awesomely, Netflix picked this up, announced the fact that they picked this up and we're going to finish it on the 28th of August, and the flight that went missing is flight 828. I know someone at Netflix was a fucking fan. I guarantee. Like
the John Locke of Netflix. Love that.
Yeah, I think they knew what they were doing.
John.
I have been extremely busy, so I didn't watch much. Dave, did I mention that I saw Paris, Texas last week? Did I talk about that at all? That was a really... Okay, that's how little movies I've been watching. I watched these, and I watched the movie we were supposed to watch this week. So I'll be ready to chit chat about our next film.
Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, sadly that's it. How about you, Jeff? You had 3 fucking weeks off. What'd you watch?
I watched a lot. I watched a lot of documentaries because it was always like in passing, like never really sitting down.
Obviously,
for 2
not the
hours.
Sparks Brothers documentary.
Well, it's not out yet, Dave.
Yes, it is.
I thought it was coming out this fall.
It's out.
Okay. Fuck. Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it.
Get out of here. Yeah. I watched Val on Amazon Prime, and I guys get to it. Val Kilmer was an A-list movie star. He went to Juilliard. He's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
We have
he
mentioned
recorded
this.
his whole life. There's trauma in there early on with his life. He had filmed everything because his brother wanted to be a film director. His brother passed away very early in his life, and so he started filming his entire life. That includes backstage at an off-Broadway play starring him, Kevin Bacon, and Sean Penn in 1983. Val Kilmer is a legend, but we only know him as the Iceman and Batman. But he's actually a guy suffering from throat cancer.
The musical.
He's actually a guy suffering from throat cancer with no money right now. And it's this whole journey. It's very artistically done. It's paced brilliantly. They definitely cut a lot out to cut it down to 90 minutes. It's very watchable. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Val. That is the Iceman. The Assman. Fuck.
The Assman. Yeah, Assman is a whole different thing.
It's Val Kilmer, man. Fuck. Anyway, I recommend Val. Okay, so that is our Annette episode for this week. Join us on our next week's episode where we are going to be watching Sweet Girl. We're gonna be
First of all, it's not next week, and we're not watching it.
on Thursday in the midweek episode.
And 2 of us have already watched it. Tune in for Jeff to moderate mine and Dave's conversation.
Oh God, everyone but me is drunk.
The Sweet Girl,
Guys,
Jason Momoa, Netflix. It's on there. We all saw it.
My vacation was amazing.
Yeah.
See you soon,
He's back.
See you soon, film fans.